Jules from Intrepid Moon, and welcome to my very first vlog post. Now, I've been racking my brains over the last week to really think of what I would like to talk to you about, and I have asked over on my Facebook page what you would like me to cover, and so far I've not had any responses from anyone, so I'm just going to put it out there and start talking about some topics that I feel would be of use to you and that you can take away some really valuable information from. I did originally want to talk about branding because I've been having some very interesting conversations with clients and some friends of mine about the power of branding, especially for startups or blossoming businesses. But intuitively, what really comes to me this week that I want to talk to you about is client attraction. Now, I know that this is a huge, huge topic for many people in business, and it doesn't matter whether you're just starting out in business, it doesn't matter whether you're established or whether you're raking in, sort of 6 or 7 figures, the holy grail in business. Now, client attraction is a very, very big deal for a lot of us because when you're just starting out in business, there's a whole lot of fear and vulnerability, and there's a lot of obstacles around attracting clients. A lot of those obstacles are things like knowledge and confidence. When you're an established business, it's a lot about momentum and client retention. And even when you're a 6-7 figure business, client attraction is still just as important as it was the day you were starting out. What I really wanted to share with you about client attraction, and I think that this would mostly apply to service-based professionals, so people who deal with people. You can also use a lot of these tips that I give you if you're a retail or product-based business. But what's really important when it comes to client attraction is engagement, really. Now, this is something I don't know whether you've seen in a lot of these social media blog posts of late, or I know that there are a lot of sort of magazines that are talking about these issues that are affecting small business owners, and a lot of people have said to me, especially sort of industry peers or colleagues, they ask me how I find my clients, and I wish I could say that I have this XYZ formula that worked for me. I could probably make a lot of money selling that, but what I found to be the most invaluable part of client attraction or attracting clients into my business was not actually trying to attract clients at all. For me and the people that I deal with, the people in my target audience or my niche, two very overused words in the industry. But what was very important for me when it came to my clients and everyone that I work with at the moment was not about the sales page. It was not about, not necessarily even about my website, although I have had a lot of inquiries from there, and I do get a lot of inquiries from there. But what was the number one factor in engaging with a client or turning a client from just somebody I knew into somebody who wanted to work with me was time. And it was effort and energy that I invested into building up a connection with them. So a lot of my clients come to me and they're looking for branding. They want their website overhauled, or they'd like a brand spanking new design. And I know that obviously when it comes to dealing with things of a digital nature, and especially, when you're dealing with a person, that to sign up with somebody straight off the bat, what they call a cold lead, is essentially going to be, it's a big step. And I know that for a lot of women who are in business, myself included, especially when I was starting out, I just didn't want to hand over a huge chunk of money to somebody that I didn't know. Because, we still have that issue of trust and not knowing, and that's that insecurity that we have around things of a digital nature. So I fully appreciated where my clients were standing before they even engaged in that process of becoming a client. So for me, and what I really wanted to impart this week talking to you about, is when your focus or when your priority is to attract more clients, it's really important to ask yourself what it is or where it is that your clients are. Now, I don't know whether you would have done some very valuable or very handy exercises in the past where you've identified with your ideal client. If you haven't done something like that in the past, then definitely look at doing something now. I will post some resources and some links to some very handy worksheets that you can use when trying to identify with who your ideal client is and the kind of demographic that you should be speaking to. You're able to identify who your ideal client is and who you would love to work with and who would just be over the moon to buy your product or to work with you on an extended coaching program. When you can understand the type of person that they are, not only are you more able to relate to them, you're able to understand their frustrations, their worries, their fears, what keeps them awake at night, but you're also able to understand where they hang out. And I know for a lot of people, a lot of the information that has become available, when you first start out as a business owner, you have a lot of traditional methods that talk about advertising. You want to do advertising campaigns, you want to put yourself in magazines, in newspapers, even in directories. There are things like Facebook advertising, which you can do, and there's all of this stuff about actually putting yourself, in your ideal client's radar. But what nobody actually talks about is how you relate to them, how you understand them. It's all very well having a very appealing advert in a magazine, but do you understand the person who's reading it? Do you understand what they're worried about, what they're afraid of, what they dream of, what they hope for? And I think that we're moving away from those sort of very traditional methods of client attraction and moving more into the sort of more fluid and dynamic process of engaging with people and turning somebody from a client, from an acquaintance into a client. So what I found to be the most valuable, and I think if there's only one thing that you could take away from this video this week, is to spend some time considering who your ideal client is. And I'm sure, there are so many resources out there available for business owners, so I definitely do recommend checking some of them out. But I think that number one, the very first step in a client attraction is to understand who your clients are. One of the most powerful ways to attract something or to manifest something is to identify it and to attach, sort of an energy to it, something that you can relate to, something that resonates with you. Once you can understand who your ideal client is, then you can start placing yourself where they are. And this is not in a very salesy, pushy, spammy promotion way. This is about placing yourself where they spend their time and just getting to know them and letting them get to know you as well. Because if your main focus, say for 2014, was to sell a 3-month VIP coaching program that would be absolutely amazing and it would change women's lives, the only way that you're going to be able to attract those kind of clients that you would love to work with is to sell yourself in a way that is not actually selling. So client attraction for me and from my experience is all about building relationships. And that's such a powerful way to engage with somebody, because you're not saying this is my XYZ product and this is what it costs and I want you to do this and this is what you're going to get from it. You're just creating a space for them. You're creating a space for them to engage with you and to understand you and to understand your values and your ethics and your morals, what motivates you, what your vision is. And when people can relate to that, when people can understand that about you, they are more likely to identify with you. And they'll be able to create an emotional connection with you, and they'll be able to get what it is that you're trying to do. I don't believe anymore that working on a cold sale basis or just pure advertising is the way to go forth in business. I think that we really need to consider things that are of value and things that have our values attached to them. So when it comes to attracting clients or turning potential visitors into clients, you really need to think about what it is that can give it that personal touch, and that is speaking to them, that is opening up to them, creating that space for them to engage with you. For myself, for everybody that I deal with, every single piece of work that I do starts with relationship building. So this is not even about the sale, it's not about the product, it's not about the service, it's not about any of that. It's about just getting to know the person, because that way I can be of better service to my clients, and my clients will get the best out of me because we have created an emotional connection. So we can relate to each other a lot better. Now, obviously, from a design point of view, this works great because I'm really getting a feel for my customers. But my clients, in turn, have that sense of trust as well. And I know that you can use traditional terms like rapport, but I like to use the word connection, which is actually my word for 2014, which is why I'm also putting myself out here on video, which is quite an experience in itself. So what I would like you to do, or what I would like you to try and take away from this video this week, is to consider your ideal client, who they are, what they look like, what they like to eat, what they wear, where they shop, what they watch on TV, what music they listen to, what they like to read, who their peers are, to really get a good picture of who your ideal client is, or who you would love to work with and who is absolutely dying to work with you. Once you've got this client identity in place, you'll be able to take this and to understand their habits. So, for example, I know that a lot of my clients tend to hang out on Facebook. And that's not just, hanging out, procrastinating or wasting time, but a lot of them are participating in groups. Now, if you're a service-based professional, especially if you're working in the coaching, healing or therapeutic business, I would highly, highly recommend that you go and find some Facebook groups that your ideal client is likely to hang out in. There are so many groups available. You really need to find your right one. You may find that you will join 10 to 15, and out of those only 5 are going to be really good for building those connections with. But you're never going to get out there and do it if you don't just keep trying. So think of it as a process of elimination, which I found is incredibly true when you're first starting out in business. There's so much going on and there is so much that you're taking in, that the way forward is only learning by doing, and then learning what doesn't work and proceeding forward with what does work. So if you go and find some Facebook groups where you've got some, where your ideal clients are going to be hanging out, and just get involved in the conversation. And it's not about putting your product in front of them. It's not about saying, "Hi, I'm Jules and I'm a web designer, come and buy my product or buy my service." It's about going, "Hi, how can I be of service? How can I be of value to you? How can I give something to you that engages us in that kind of conversation, or engages us and opens up that connection, so that we could potentially feel into the possibility of working with each other." Now, this is especially true if you're in a service-based business, because when you're being of service to somebody, you're still working with them, because obviously they need to do the work too. So you need to really put your personality out there, and this is the only way that you're really going to build a client base or a customer base of people who are absolutely, who absolutely adore working with you. Is you need to be yourself, you need to be authentic, you need to be real, you need to engage in such a way that you would meeting a potential friend. And I found that a lot of my clients tend to become very good friends, and we stay in touch long after we've worked together. And the same goes for me. Anybody whose service or product that I buy, if once they've engaged with me, there tends to be a long-lasting relationship afterwards. When you're just starting out in business as well, what you want to focus on is not numbers, it's not quantity. You want to focus on quality. That's really important. I remember when I was studying at university and when I was studying natural medicine, and they said to me, one of the best things that you can do once you've qualified or whilst you're qualifying is to build up a network of people who are in a similar field, so psychologists and GPs and physiotherapists and things like that, because you will find that you will create this referral network. And you can only do that once you've engaged with them. You don't just sort of put yourself there and go, "Hi everyone, this is me, this is what I do, come work with me." You really do need to spend some time investing in that relationship and that connection. So that's going to be a real big focus for you when you're starting out in business, or even if you found that you've been in business for a couple of years and maybe the momentum is dropping off and you're a bit stuck and you're wondering where your next batch of clients are going to come from, or where your next paycheck is going to come from. Start thinking about quantity, and start thinking about value and about connection and engaging with your customer, and really putting yourself out there in such a way that opens you up to building your network, to building your tribe, if you like, or your community. So I'm going to stop talking there for now. I think I've given away enough information, and I don't want to keep bending your ear. But if you have any questions, please feel free to pop them underneath the blog post, whether this is on YouTube or on my website or even on Facebook. And if you've got any questions, simply fire them at me. I'm always happy to help out and answer any queries you might have. And I'd also like to know your responses to a blog post. Did you find the information useful? Have you found it interesting? Should I keep doing them? Should I stop talking? So I would really love to know. Please do give me your feedback. That would be absolutely brilliant. But in the meantime, have a lovely week, and I will see you next week. Bye.